everyone, and welcome to another episode of Shadow Tiddlers. Today we are going to be doing an overview of TiddlyWiki, the concepts, and just a basic understanding of what TiddlyWiki is, going over an introduction, visiting the main website, and checking out what an empty TiddlyWiki will look like. So as you can see, we have a pretty plain and basic page here, but don't let that fool you. Underneath the facade, we pull back the curtain, and what do we find? We find a decent control panel. So we're going to go ahead and click TiddlyWiki here, and this is going to kind of go over what TiddlyWiki is. In short, it's a powerful note-taking tool that links data together in chunks known as Tiddlers. By linking these chunks together, you get a TiddlyWiki. Now, if we follow this link for Tiddlers, we will actually find some really cool stuff. But I wanted to point out right here that this is actually CSS. So just a cool little thing to note. All right, so going over this, these are Tiddlers. They're the fundamental units and building blocks of information that make TiddlyWiki TiddlyWiki. In essence, TiddlyWiki is made entirely out of Tiddlers, whether it be the saving mechanism or what you're doing, whether it be note-taking, saving recipes, adding photos, and much, much more. TiddlyWiki is designed around and with Tiddlers in mind. The great thing about that is they never really change. As editions of TiddlyWiki come out, the format stays the same. The Tiddlers are updated, but the ones that you made are never really touched. So whether you have an old TiddlyWiki or a new one, they're backwards compatible completely. And Tiddlers are nice and small, meaning you can have dozens of them, and it's a lot more efficient, allowing TiddlyWiki to fit a lot in a very small file. Now, let's follow here and see what links are and how to use those. Links are helpful tools provided by TiddlyWiki that allow us to navigate. You can use titles like this, surrounded in brackets, and it'll create a link much like this. If we go to this link, it'll go over formatting. Now, I know it looks a little scary when we look at the formatting, all that weird text and code and stuff. Don't worry, I'll show you guys a trick. Okay, as you guys can see here, I have a Tiddler open, and we're going to be doing some edits real quick. I'm going to go ahead and put some text in here, and we'll just go back and use these nice little buttons to just change up and add to. As you can see, it pretty much does it for you. So you don't actually have to remember all of those weird linking and slashes and underlines and underscores. It'll do all that for you. So you just go in, select the text that you want to edit, and there you go. Click the button, and it's good to go. We'll go ahead and have a sneak peek at this real quick, and that's what you get. So let's go over here real quick, make that, there you go. All right, and that's what our Tiddler looks like. Pretty cool, huh? And no coding was needed to be done whatsoever. And this is HTML, y'all. And this is TiddlyWiki. So nice and easy, great to use. All right, now that we know that handy little trick that makes it easier for us humans, I want to show you guys something else pretty cool. TiddlyWiki stores data, and part of that data is images. Now, the cool thing about storing images in TiddlyWiki is they're actually stored in TiddlyWiki. They actually are stored as plain text, and then they're rendered by the browser on the fly when you open it. In layman's terms, it's all stuck in one file and easy for you to get. But don't worry, if you need to get your files back, simply just go to the image, right-click like so, and save as. It'll then download it as an image. Pretty cool, huh? So, on the topic of embedding files, not only can you embed images, but you can also embed audio. Now, this is generally not recommended to do with very large audio files, and for more simple reasons to explain, that's because the larger the TiddlyWiki file gets, the slower it is loading, and it can cause some sluggishness, and overall there's not much benefit to adding large audio files. But if you want little beeps and dings, that is something that you can totally do. And this doesn't just work with audio, it works with video and, as we saw, images and most other common files. They can be stored and retrieved fairly easily. And that's one of the great things about TiddlyWiki is this is all stored, converted into text, then re-rendered by the browser. Therefore, it's all saved in your one file and you never have to worry about juggling file systems again. So, moving forward, we get to touch on the really awesome topic of Tiddler tags. Now, I think this is where TiddlyWiki really shines, as I think it kind of almost takes it from a notebook to a framework. But let's fall back a little bit and just talk about the tags for a second and what they're part of. Tiddlers are really kind of comprised of three things: tags, fields, and types. So tags are going to be kind of like an organizational and function tool. Fields are where you store the data. You can store functions there as well, and you normally would store the core function there. But there's also the type. Now the type just sort of indicates to TiddlyWiki how to render the file. For example, if it's an image, it'll be set as an image type and it will try to render it as an image. If it's text, so on and so forth. If it's a script, and so on, so forth. Now, tags are very useful because they can be used to trigger system events, or very useful, they can link other tiddlers together just by having those tags. And the awesome thing about that is like you would think, you can tag multiple things and keep them in a category by the tags. There's also many functions that can pull based on tags, making it very, very nice. But if we actually have a look at these tags, we can see that by themselves, they actually display the tiddlers that they're attached to and the main tiddler that they're forked from. So you can have a definition of what the tag is up at the top. For example, this would be where the definition is. Pretty nifty. One last nifty feature is you can actually bounce back and forth between tagged tiddlers, as you see me doing here. And it's really quite helpful if you're trying to figure out where things are. Another thing too that is very nice without having to figure out where things are is transclusion. Much like linking before, if instead you use these curly brackets, you can actually embed the other body of the tiddler into another tiddler, meaning you can combine multiple into one without having to retype it. And another nifty thing is it's not a copy and paste. You're actually seeing into the other tiddler. And the cool thing about that is not only can you embed files such as audio or images, but if they are changed at any other time, it will update across all tiddlers which they are embedded in. So you don't have to make edits across everything. It'll take care of all of that for you. And as you can see here, we've got the SVGs. Those are actually being rendered in line with the text, and the SVGs are embedded in the same file, meaning it's all contained in one place, which is again another reason why this software is very helpful, because you don't have to worry about if at any point in time you will lose the files like I always do. So we've seen double curly brackets, but this is triple curly brackets. Now, for the sake of simplicity, I'm not going to get too in-depth onto how those work, but to put it simply, in this case, we're using them to generate a list of all tiddlers tagged with "this is another tag." Now, tagging is very easy to do, and I'll show you how to do it later on in this video, but just as an example, all the tiddlers that are tagged with "this is another tag" will display in a list. If you have 100, it'll display all 100 for you. You don't have to worry about manually typing in and linking everything, making your life very easy, which is what this is designed to do and does a great job of. Now, bear in mind, you can do some pretty complex things when it comes to systems like this one. This one's just being used for listing, but it does have quite a bit more potential if that's something you're interested in doing. And boy, oh boy, does it get fun. Plugins is one place where TiddlyWiki really shines. I can tell you that it is incredibly easy to add and remove or disable the hundreds of plugins that TiddlyWiki uses. You can drag and drop from either another wiki or from an actual file, manually import, or download from source. You can disable it with a click of a button, and in most cases, if you downloaded it from a source, you can update with a click of a button as well. It's that easy. And you can actually modify the plugins, and if you break something, just delete the modification and move on. It's called Shadow Tiddlers, and we'll get into those more at a later date. But man oh man, plugins, it's a whole new world. As of the release of this video, there are currently 30 translations available for TiddlyWiki that affect the main UI and most of your experience with it. Though you can type and save tiddlers in any language you like, translations may or may not affect plugins. Most plugins will not be affected by translations, but you are more than welcome to help translate into more languages. Just visit TiddlyWiki's GitHub and submit your contributions there. It's very much appreciated in helping more people find out about TiddlyWiki. With all of that out of the way, I think it's about time we take a look at the TiddlyWiki homepage and kind of get a feel for what it can look like in one good example. Let's go have a look. So this is the TiddlyWiki homepage, where you see that big green download button is how you would save TiddlyWiki. Now we're going to take a look up here and we see sites. You can navigate to the sites here. We've also got the index. This is pretty much going to be where you can find most of the content that you could use to learn. Now, if we go over to the side, we can actually kind of see there's a lot of buttons here. We will get into a lot of those later. There's a lot of features available with TiddlyWiki, but as you can see from the things like password protecting and language, there's a lot of things that you can set and configure, and trust me, it's very, very customizable and very, very easy to do so. All right, everybody, last but not least, we've finally gotten to it, what an empty TiddlyWiki looks like. This is what you're going to be starting with from scratch, from the beginning, bare bones. Here it is. So if we look at our getting started section, we're going to go ahead and change that up a bit. We're going to change the site title here to Intro to TiddlyWiki. Now we're going to go down and just add / framework over here, just so that we kind of, because it is kind of a framework. Now I'm going to set the default tiddlers to nothing, but the way this works is normally if you have a entry that you want to show up when you first start the notebook, you would type in the title there and it would just open automatically. Now we're going to go ahead and create ourselves a new tiddler using the plus button. And this is what a basic new tiddler looks like in a normal story river. We're going to go ahead and show off the river by creating a couple more tiddlers, just like that. So as you can see, we can scroll up and down and we can put quite a few in this. One thing we are going to do is we're going to look at the fields real quick. Now, this is going to be a lot. Don't get overwhelmed. There is a lot that you can select here between the types and the fields. Typically, unless you're doing something specific, you will never actually need to use this, unless, again, you're doing something specific. So let's close out of that real quick. And we're going to go back over, close all of this stuff out. Don't really need it. Just close it up from over there. And there you go. This is just it, nice and empty. Let's go over and let's say, I don't know, create a new tiddler again. But this time we're going to go just put some random text in here. We want a good example of a tiddler for you. So we're going to go ahead and create this tiddler, and I'll have you note too, it just creates new tiddler 4. It's going to do that infinitely unless you change the name. Now we're going to go ahead and start adding some tags. Just type in some random stuff. You'll notice as I'm typing, I'm going to be typing in different caps. Tags and titles are cap sensitive. That's good to know. We're also going to save the TiddlyWiki. We're going to click the little red button, And what that's going to do is that is going to download a copy onto our PC. Now, there are other means of saving TiddlyWiki that are a little less clunky, but we'll go into those at a later time. It's essential that TiddlyWiki can save no matter where it is, and in cases like this, you may acquire a lot of unnecessary wikis, but it's still a usable method. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. Have a wonderful day. And remember, the only limit to a shadow tiddler is your imagination.